Before we start today's episode, I would like to invite you to follow my new Instagram account too, which is called Tara Wisdom. So it's spelled TAARA_wisdom. And on that account, I'm talking about a lot of similar topics that you're going to hear about today. So things like stress management, stress reduction, self-criticism, self-worth, how to become stronger, more empowered person. If you're a more sensitive person, highly sensitive person, we could call, then this account is for you. And I hope that it will encourage you, that it will help you to understand yourself better, and that it will teach you some tools that you can start using in your life as well. So if these are the topics that resonate with you, please give my new account a follow. Again, it is spelled TAARA_wisdom, Tara Wisdom. Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kirsten here, and thank you for tuning in to the next episode of A Better Way with Kirsten Kimura podcast. Today's episode is going to be one of those mindset episodes that I like to do every now and then. And lately, I have done a couple different ones. So you can go back and see if you haven't seen them yet. But I did one on self-compassion. There's one about anxiety. And today we're going to talk about saying yes when you actually mean no. Now, you may have identified that you are one of these people who really, you resonate with this stuff. And one of the things that people who do these things, they experience more anxiety. They tend to be kind of self-critical. They say yes when they often mean no. They may have a lot of unexpressed emotions. They feel like they have to hide them because they feel like they're too much or they shouldn't be showing them. These people are often called highly sensitive people. So I don't know if you are familiar with the term, but it is a term. It's called HSP, so highly sensitive person. And this might be you. So if you have felt like this really resonates with me, these topics have been resonating with me, well, then you might be one of these people. And I know this term is not necessarily uh, at the first glance like, oh, that's so empowering. I want to be highly sensitive. It may feel like, no, this is freaking weak. I don't want to be seen as weak. I can handle things. I can do hard things. But these things don't have to be in opposition. You can be highly sensitive and you can also be able to handle hard things, right? You just have to get to know yourself. And for me, it has been a big, big deal to understand this about myself. And when I first started learning about this type of person, it was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's right, that's right. Like everything kind of check, 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 check. I know exactly now, like why, like who I am and why a lot of things in my life have felt wrong because I had tried to kind of ignore this side of myself or like go harder, go faster, do things the way that sort of the society is expecting to do, which also means like run yourself to the ground, by the way. Then at one moment you start seeing like this is not what I am. No wonder that I've been feeling so like tired and out of alignment because I have been going against my real nature, which is that more sensitive or more I'd also like to say more aware person, right? So I hope that these episodes maybe help you to understand yourself a little bit better if this is you. I'm not saying that this is everybody, absolutely not. And I don't know if there's any statistics about it, but I think that there are more people who are not very sensitive than those who are. But those who are, I think the reason why they feel so different, they feel kind of something's wrong or something's off, something strange, I don't quite fit in. Those people really need the support and they need this validation that they're normal. There's nothing wrong with them. And this was really, really helpful for me personally to understand that there's nothing wrong. It's just like not everybody can follow the same rules. Not everybody should follow the same um, or have the same expectations. Not everybody's going to perform similarly doing certain things, and that is okay. You just have to accept yourself and start seeing the value in how you are. And yes, these more highly sensitive or more aware people, we are more like we pay attention to detail more and we notice things better and we can like see other people's emotion better, and sometimes we take them very seriously. We also notice more like beautiful things. So this is one of the things that's actually very common to this personality type, is that they are able to really like take in the beauty and see things like and go like, oh wow, this is amazing. I actually have an example of that. So when I first moved to California and I met I met a really good friend here. So we were not friends before. We met in California, and we were like very similar personality type. And back then, I didn't know anything about being sensitive. And it was me and her and like group of other international students. We would often go on like road trips or whatever. And then I remember me and my friend, we were always like, oh my God, guys, do you see that sunset? Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And the other people are like, yeah, it's nice. And we're like, but did you see? And they're like, yeah, yeah. You know, kind of like, it was there yesterday. It's going to come back tomorrow too. So what's the big deal? And we're like, it is a big deal. It's so beautiful. You know, and we could go like on and on, really like, take it in. So this is like one example of how you are maybe more sensitive. And I want to do more episodes on this topic because things can get really bad if you ignore that sensitivity, if you don't allow it, if you, and it can happen, by the way, like totally without you realizing that you're suppressing your emotions, that you're pushing your sensitivity down. And this is where you can get in trouble. You feel like everything's hurting, everything's aching, like metaphorically, but also physically definitely experience that. So it's like you're going against that the true nature of yours, and then you try to push yourself more into this box of like what most people are like, and you're like, okay, I guess I gotta be like this too. Which exactly brings me to today's topic, which is saying yes to everything and everyone, and how that does not make you a better person. So this personality type that I'm talking about here likes to, well, doesn't like to, but does that. She often says yes when she actually wants to say no. And this is, of course, also known as people pleasing. And we are very prone to that because we are looking for other people's approval and we just want to be acknowledged. This is the way we feel good. And this is what we're going to dive into today. So, the first big thing that I want to mention, and that's going to be like the big theme in today's episode, is this: saying yes to everything and everyone does not make us a better person, right? Because we have this perception that we have to do things for others in order to get approval. So we say yes, but the reason is that we don't feel like our needs and our what we value are as important as other people's needs, right? So we want to make sure that those are taken care of first. So we do things for others. Like somebody asks you service, so you say yes before they even finish the sentence. Or somebody asks you to do something or just go somewhere that you don't want to go, and you say yes, right? And so the reason is that you are seeking for approval. You think that this is the way to do things, and you feel like other people's needs are more important than yours. And it comes down to self-worth. You don't feel like your self-worth is high enough that it should be like I should be doing things my way or saying no. So in a way, it's like safer to give all these other people the things that they need and want because we don't feel like our needs are important enough. So this is essentially what it comes down to. And you know, it definitely comes from the place of like seeking approval and validation. And that can start from so many different sources in your life, right? And we believe that if we have self-worth issues, then we believe that when we do all these things for other people, then this is the only way we can be approved, and it's the only way we can feel good about ourselves. But at the same time, we are building a lot of resentment up in ourselves, right? And it doesn't feel good. So resentment often becomes anger. I mean, it is a form of anger. And now if you don't express it, if you still do things that other people ask you to do, even though you really don't want to, then internally you build up a lot of anger, which can then start manifesting in very unpleasant ways. One of them might be anxiety, which is that what I talked about a couple of episodes ago. Well, then another one is depression, because you are pushing down, forcing down your own needs. You're always saying, yes, 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 let me do this. Let me help you with this. Let me do this for you. Okay, sure, yes. And then inside, you don't want to. Of course, you get angry, right? But you are hiding it. You're pushing it down because you're still seeking for that approval. And so now this approval, this need to get approval, maybe, I mean, most likely it started from childhood where, when it basically became a survival mechanism, right? So if we wanted to get something or we wanted to somebody give us attention, maybe what we had to do was to say yes when we wanted to say no. So it was basically a way for us to avoid rejection, right? And that's why we learned to say yes, yes, of course I will do it, of course I'll do it. And now as an adult, you still have that same pattern in you, still repeating something that you learned 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. It's doing the same thing because these patterns in your brain run really, really deep. They're in the subconscious system, subconscious brain, and they are running the show. And that's why you're still people pleasing, right? Because you learned it really, really early. So now those people who say yes when they actually want to say no, and they do it all the time, it's not like, okay, one time I did this extra favor for somebody. You're literally saying yes to everybody, to everything, all the time. Then these people often feel very stuck in their lives, right? So they feel like there's no flow, no ease. Somebody's saying like, I really got you just flow state. And you're like, what? What's that like, right? Because you have suppressed it for so long. You've gone against your own nature and you built up internal anger, even though you may not think it's internal anger, it is. So there's no ease, there's no flow. Things feel like continuous struggle, right? And there seems like there's no way out. But there is. And the solution is, you want it or not, it's just that. You have to get more assertive to change this trait in ourselves, right? We have to come to terms with the fact that some people will not like it when we start saying no. And this is understandably, especially if they have always heard us say yes. If we're always like, yeah, sure, I'll do this for you. Can I do something else? How about I do that too? Right? You're like over giving because you're still reaching or seeking for the approval. Because that's the only way you think you feel good, but you don't because you actually end up feeling angry. So you start saying no, now people will be like, what? What's that? Right? But this is new to them. So you have to understand it's new. They're not used to it. And you have to let that be your right. Okay. And at the same time, there are also people who are not going to like you, even if you say yes to everything. So we can't take it this way. Okay, I have to say, um, I have to say yes. That way I get approval. Some people will still not like you, and that's not even the point. It's okay that not everybody likes you. I always say you don't like everybody either. So why do you think everybody has to like you? This is how I've learned it, or you know, made it clear for myself. Like I don't like everybody either. That's okay. It doesn't make me a bad person. Everybody's preference. So it's okay if not everybody likes you either. So that's okay. So we are teaching people how they can treat us. So this is something that my former business coach always told me. We're teaching people how to treat us, right? And um, that way we cannot really blame other people if they're asking us, "Can you do me another favor? Can you do me another favor?" Because we have always done it. And if we now go like, oh my God, look at that. Like he had how could he ask another favor? But he asked a favor because we have always said yes. So that has kind of become an expectation. And that's what I mean when I say that, you know, um, we teach people how to treat us. We have allowed that kind of treatment to happen, right? So we have to take a look at ourselves. But that doesn't mean that we have to blame ourselves either. It's not like I have to find somebody to blame. No point in trying to find like who to blame for this. There's nobody to blame. We just have to start practicing say no if this is what we really want to say. And it can be very, very uncomfortable at first. And yes, it will produce some anxiety. And go back to this anxiety episode to learn how to deal with anxiety, or what I recommend that you do if you have anxiety. So this habit change, when you start saying no, it is going to be hard. It's going to be painful to do it. It's like, oh my God, I can't like it. I feel like I'm not going to be approved. I feel like I'm a bad person, but none of this is true, right? Okay, maybe you will not be approved, but you cannot base your decisions, make your decisions based on that. Maybe you will not be approved, and then you have to just be okay with it, right? Um, it can cause anxiety, like I said. You may have to send somebody a text and say, no, cannot do this. I won't do this for you. And you may feel intense anxiety at first. Oh my God, the world's going to end. And then you just have to sit with it and be with it and let it be okay, because this is the only way how you get more confident and how you get more assertive. And this is really what you need if you have this habit of people pleasing. So it is hard to do, especially at first when your self-worth is not very high yet, it's not solid yet, then it takes some practice, but this is the only way to do it. So You build confidence just little by little, moment by moment. Find these opportunities where you can say no. And it has to happen in the moment. It can't be like later, you're like, oh, I said yes, I really should have said no. And then you repeat the same pattern. Nothing will change until you change your response. And this has to start happening like the next time the opportunity presents itself. You gotta be like, okay, I committed to this. I want to feel better. I want to feel more aligned. I want to be not as angry internally. Again, I want to say that a lot of times people don't recognize that anger. They're like, I'm not an angry person. What are you talking about? But if you are saying yes while you actually mean no, you actually do have anger inside. That's just it's a fact because it goes against your nature. It goes against what you truly want to do. So little by little, one moment at a time, one opportunity at a time to practice this. You just have to start doing it, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Nobody says that you have to be rude. You have to be like a jerk. This is not how you do it. You can just say no. And like I said, for some people, it's going to be so unexpected. First, what? And you have to be okay with it. So you've got this. You have the right to say no if this is what you really want to say. Start practicing it, really commit to it, and you will see how it gets easier. And you start feeling better internally too. You feel like, okay, things are easier. Things feel like lighter for me. I don't feel like heavy all the time or like depressed or anxious all the time. And it will get better from there. So this is really like a personal growth tool for you. I hope this spoke to you today. So let me know what you thought about this episode. I can't wait to get your feedback and see you again in the next episode. Take care.